Hi there, it's Asha Ramakrishna, your spiritual and business mentor, and I'm here to talk about the Happiness Challenge. The Happiness Challenge is a 3-month program that I have with individuals where I custom tailor an experience and a process for them to really experience heaven on earth, right? Don't we all want that? So what I do is I work with people to um, kind of let go of their fears and anxieties. And there's a specific process that I take people through and really help them activate their purpose and activate their happiness, activate their sense of fulfillment. But in these video series, so this is video number 2 of the Happiness Challenge, and if you didn't listen to the first video, I highly recommend that you go back because this is really following up from that. And that first video really gives you a good, strong foundation on how do you activate and how do you really embody this sense of happiness and the sense of fulfillment and let go of, your stuff. So, and just as a recap for that, I gave awesome tools, so make sure that you go and listen to that video. But the gist of it is to be living in the present moment, and I give you ideas on methods of how you can be experiencing that and what to do to get yourself to stay in it and not remove yourself from it. And I specifically talked about what to do when you're having, challenging things in your life. Like if you are experiencing any kind of self-sabotage, whether it's like exercise or eating right or, just even challenges with people in your life. Okay? So do go back and listen to that. I highly recommend it. All right, so step 2 of the Happiness Challenge is to look at our fears and anxieties. Now, this is a biggie. This is what I did a Powerhouse Summit back at the beginning of the year, and the response that I got on people having a lot of difficulties with fear and anxiety is huge. And again, I recommend that you go and listen to the first video, because what ends up happening is that when we're in our fear and our anxiety is that we're not living in the moment. Like, we're stuck in either, with fear, we're kind of stuck in our past. We're stuck in revisiting stories of what happened, and our fear that it's going to repeat itself again. And with anxieties, it's really kind of projecting it into the future. And I know that those are very real things, and I by no means would I trivialize either of them. And I also know that it's really lies that we're telling ourselves when we live in those places. And I mean that with the most compassion, right? We all have things that trigger us, and ways that we're trying to protect ourselves from experiencing pain. I mean, I'm sure you know that we really operate from like 80% from our subconscious. So, and our subconscious is really programmed pretty much before the age of 7. So whatever experiences we had as a child are really the ones that sort of set that part of our primal brain in motion into, really being able to be critical and deciphering what are experiences that keep us safe and what are experiences that basically, well, that's the biggest thing, right? If you think about the primal brain is mostly focused on keeping the person safe and alive. And, as a mammal, that's really important, right? It's really important that we stay safe, we stay away from predators, we stay away from not having enough, or we stay in having enough food, shelter, like all those basic needs. It's really important for a mammal from early on in life to make sure that those things are put in place. And part of our mammalian brain, the reptilian part of our brain, is to make sure that we're able to take care of ourselves, right? If this part of our brain isn't operating, then we're not able to meet our basic needs. The urge to want to generate income, generate wealth, is not going to be there if there isn't the sense of I need a roof over my head and my children need to eat. So these are important things. But similar to what I said about the mind, we also don't want to overwork this part of us. And when we look at our society, what we can see is that the majority of our time and energy is expended on this part of our brain. Like, we are, really living in a time, like, it's unprecedented. It's very odd because we are so much in a heightened awareness and really focused on the fears and anxieties, really focused on always being on alert. And this is not healthy, as you can imagine. This is typically what people call stress. And what happens when the system is under stress is that we create a hostile environment for our own life. We create a hostile environment for ourselves, and we are also, when the body is under stress, even down to the genetic mechanisms don't work properly. Maybe some of you have heard of the term epigenetics, which is like how people are explaining how our environment is actually affecting our genetics. And what's happening, if you care about this and you're curious about this, is that there's this process that's happening when a system is under stress, and it's called methylation. And in methylation, you are basically changing the DNA, changing the composition of the DNA. So this is what's happening at a very molecular level. And if you wonder why I know so much about this, my background is as a molecular biologist. And there's a great interview on Blog Talk Radio and if you look up global entrepreneurs, I had the best time talking to my friend Chris there. And we went through, sort of my process going from a scientist to a spiritual and business mentor. But anyway, so this is what's happening at a very molecular level. And so you can imagine that if that's happening at the genetic molecular level, then it's also happening in our cells. And if it's happening in our cells, it's also happening in our organs. And so the question one would have this question of, well, what damage are we doing to our organs and to the overall function of our biological system? And I would definitely say that from a biology standpoint, being under stress, as much as people love to say, like, oh, I'm so stressed, and there's some like glamour with that, and my latest thing that I've been saying to people is like, stop it. Just stop it. Like, that is not, there's nothing glamorous about feeling stressed. I don't know who came up with in corporate environments to idolize such a statement or revere such a corporate culture, but to be honest, we have to stop doing that because it's not helping anybody to be focused on stress and being overworked and having way too much to do to really even feel a sense of peace and a sense of fulfillment, right? So in letting go, so coming back to, a method to release your fears and anxieties is yes, always do bring yourself back to the present moment. And if you listen to that first video that I posted on, the first video of the Happiness Challenge, I definitely tell you an easy way to get yourself into the present moment and a way to make sure you don't come out of that, right? Because that's really, really important. And so when you can be pretty pragmatic about the things that you want to let go of, okay? So most of our blocks are really blocks that are perceived blocks and are pretty much based on, suffering that we've imparted on ourselves and maybe that we've accepted from somebody else. And again, I'm not trying to trivialize the kind of pain that people can do to one another because it's very real. I know that. People can hurt one another from a place of not being in the present moment and from a place of ignorance. And what I know is that we've overcome a lot. I mean, I see myself as a parent, and I see other people as parents, and we can't fall back on ignorance. We have the tools, we have the knowledge, we have the information, we have the resources to be better parents. And you know, of course, I'm not a perfect parent. And that's not the point. The point is for me to be as present as possible. And even in my mistakes, to be as present as possible and be honest with my children as to when I have done something out of integrity, when I wasn't in a present moment, and where I took myself out of it because I was in fear and anxiety. And I will definitely say that, you know, just even taking a look at my own life, and the more that I practice, I've been practicing living in the present moment and really sinking very deep, 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 deep into it, is that these instances where I cause pain to another human being are less and less. I'm not perfect. I'm always going to be triggered. You're always going to be triggered. And I think it's good for all of us to know that we're always going to have triggers, right? And then we're always going to have opportunities to either choose happiness and fulfillment, and to choose, and when we're choosing happiness and fulfillment, we're really choosing to be who we really are in every moment. And there's that choice, and then there's the choice to go into fear and anxiety, and hence into suffering. So we always have this choice. We always have a choice to come out of come out of presence and be in our fear and anxiety. All right, so what do we do with all of that, right? Like, it's great that I'm talking about all this, but I want to give you tools. I want to give you ways of walking away from this video and knowing, okay, Asha, I know exactly what to do. Again, if you listen to the first video, you'll see that I gave you specific tools to kind of take on. And the tool that I'm going to give you now is that do the exercise of putting yourself in the present moment. Like, really just have a thought of the ocean, or just have a thought of you know, that kind of expansiveness and that feeling good about life, open focus kind of you know, experience. And when you're in this place, now, don't deal with your fears and anxieties when you're feeling crappy. Okay, that's definitely not a good practice. When you're feeling crappy, go to bed. Or give yourself kindness, or nurture yourself, or whatever it is you need to do. But make sure you stay away from any toxic behaviors that you may have, or any people in your life who may be, you know, offering toxic relationships. Just stay away from that when you're not feeling great. Do this work of letting go of fears and anxieties when you are feeling awesome, when you're totally feeling in the present moment. And what you're going to do is get yourself into that place. And if you didn't hear my first video, I am going to have an electronic version of a class that I taught on how to get yourself in the present moment. So, you know, just stay on alert for that. And if you want to send me an email because you want to know how to get yourself in the present moment very easily within minutes, send me an email at ashastories@gmail.com. Okay? So what you do is, when you get yourself in this like really expansive place, feeling good, think of that trigger, that fear that you have, or that anxiety that you have, and almost like bring it into yourself. Like, typically if you have a fear, you probably have like some kind of visual of it, some kind of sensation with it, like you have, or a story with it. Like, you have a lot of things going on with it. And whatever it is, that first thing that comes up for you, whether it's a visual or an experience or whatever, just bring it into yourself, almost as if you're like ingesting it, or it's coming in through the top of your head. And as you're feeling really, really good and in the present moment, bring that thing inside you and stay with the sensation of it. As I mentioned in the first video, don't go into story about it or story of the story. Just stay with the sensation and watch it almost like ride like a wave, okay? And then as you let it ride through you, as you let the ride of this sensation go through you, it will peak and it will also come down and dissipate. And I mean, pretty pragmatically, actually, you can just kind of go through a list of things that you're ready to let go, and just do this process. If you can absolutely do this on your own. If you are interested in doing it with me, I have a 3-month happiness challenge that I'm taking the first 20 people to sign up. And this is what I take people through. I help people release their fears and anxieties, and I activate their sense of fulfillment, their sense of happiness, and their life purpose, which is most important, I think, so that we can all feel a sense of fulfillment. We have to be living our purpose. This is a must, a number one. If you've heard me before, you know that my selfish reason why I want everybody to be living happy lives and feeling a sense of fulfillment and living your purpose is because I have 2 young daughters, and I want to make sure that my daughters grow up in a world where everybody feels good about what they're doing and everybody feels good about the contribution that they are offering the world, because when there's happy people working, it's a happy world, and that's the kind of world I want my daughters to live in. So last point that I want to make today on this step to happiness and this happiness challenge is that you focus on the positive. Okay, keep focusing on the positive. If you're going to focus on the negative, do it from a place of, I'm doing it because I'm ready to let go of this, and do the process that I just showed you. If you're just kind of going about your day, please focus on what is good and what is positive. Do not spend your time and your energy focused on what is negative and what isn't working in your life. This is not going to help you feel happiness. This is not going to help you have a strong sense of fulfillment. This is not going to help you to activate your life purpose and activate the heaven on earth that I envision for you. It's just not going to happen. Now, if you're doing this from a sense of, I am ready to let this go, and I'm going to do this process, and I'm going to name it, and I'm going to release it, and it's going to be gone, and replace it with the yummiest thing that you can think of for your life, then yes, do it then. But from a day-to-day, just don't spend your time on that. The last thing I'm going to say about staying positive versus going into negativity is that it's really, really, really important for you to have strong boundaries, okay? There's going to be people in your life who, not because they're mean, or maybe some of them are mean, but not because they don't mean well, but mostly because they're acting from their own fears and anxieties. They are going to cross certain boundary lines, and it's going to be really, really important for you to stay really centered into what your boundary is. All right? You need to really call out your boundary. This is how much I can take now, and this is how much I cannot. And be clear to yourself and in communicating this to other people. All right, so that's all for today. Again, if you're interested in the happiness challenge that I am doing, I'm taking the first 20 people who want to take this ride with me to let go of their fears, anxieties, activate their sense of fulfillment, activate their happiness, activate their life purpose, and really be living this heaven on earth. This is what I'm really committed to doing. If you're interested in this 3-month challenge, please email me at ashastories@gmail.com. I hope that you have a fabulous day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.